all you need is this nice little book, a couple of dice, and a pencil. And then we can play BISMARCK Solitaire from Worthington Games. Let's have a look. And here we go. First of all, I had no idea what this was. This brilliant book game from Worthington Publishing. And it's an original book game, it says, by Mike Wiley, Sean Cook and Grant Wiley. And let's take a look back. It gives us an idea of how the game's going to play. Command the pride of the German Navy in BISMARCK Solitaire, an original book game by Worthington Publishing. So we're going to lead the German ships, Bismarck and Prince Eugen, and a U-boat support as they take on the determined Royal Navy with one goal: sink the Bismarck. Wow, yes. Okay, so I saw this game on Amazon. Didn't realise it was a game, first of all, but it's a heck of a game. It's available on Amazon right now, and what a stocking filler for your Wargamer pal, because it's 19 British pounds, GBP, or 28, I believe, 28 US dollars. And that's it, look. There's the book. There's the content, which we're going to take a very close look at in a second. And that's it. That's your game. So you supply a couple of dice and a pencil, or a pen, as is your wont. And in doing so, you can play 8 tense, challenging scenarios where you take Bismarck, Prince Eugen, and a U-boat escort, and you venture out into the North Atlantic on patrol to sink as much British shipping as you possibly can. And meanwhile, you've got the might of the Royal Navy hunting you down. This is not easy. This is a real challenge. Let's take a closer look. First of all, the obvious thing, it's a lightweight book. So the idea is it's incredibly portable. You can take it anywhere. You can play this game on a train, in the back of the car. Actually, I played this game, and it's the first time I've managed to do this. Instead of separating myself from my wife and family, I've actually sat in the lounge on the couch with the book on my lap, playing the game, my dice tray at the side of me on the couch, and rolling my dice. And it's been fantastic. It's been so enjoyable. Each of these games in here, each of these missions is going to take you, 30 to 45 minutes, possibly, because my last game was really pretty challenging, up to an hour, without being too intense. So anyway, there we are. The book will open. It's brilliantly bound. It'll open. You can flatten the spine, no problem at all. And as you can see, you've got the entire game there in front of you. And you'll have, first of all, you'll have the search pane, like so, which will list all the British ships. Look at this. KGV, King George V, Prince of Wales, the Rodney, the Hood, the Renown, the Repulse, Ramillies, and convoys. And over here, we have the ships we're going to command. We've got the Bismarck, the pocket battleship Prince Eugen, and we've got a U-boat. And there we can mark any extra victory points we get. And look, if we do particularly well, we can earn ourselves a medal, and we would circle that there. And on this side, we have our event charts. And you'll see there are 12 potential events for every single game and every single mission. They'll be in different orders. The actual areas that each event affects will change each game. The game will change up from easy mode to difficult mode. And I found the easy mode fairly difficult, but that's me. Okay, so what do we start with? There's our table of contents. We start with the game rules, and there's all your missions. Look at that. Disrupt British shipping, block British shipping, disrupt convoys, convoy hunt, battleship hunt, endurance run, hide and seek, stand and fight, and then historical battle maps at the end. And you'll notice that each mission can be carried out 3 times. You can have 3 attempts at each mission using the maps and pages in this book. So you got mission 1, and that comes in an A, B and C. So you can attempt it 3 times. You come down here, for instance. Okay, here we go. Mission 5, A, B and C, and so on. Let's take a look at the rules. Here's your rule set. And basically you've got, and these are nice, easy rules. It explains the setup of the book, how it's set out, sequence of play. We'll go into that in a second. How to mark the search grid and so on. So you've got 3 pages of rules. That's all you've got. You can get started with this virtually straight away. And then you've got some designer notes and strategy there. Some great suggestions and why the rules were constructed the way they have been, and the actual history of the pursuit of the Bismarck and Prince Eugen there. Absolutely brilliant. And then we go to a detailed example of play, like so. So it'll take you through turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and so on. How to mark, knocking it about. How to mark your search map. And here, yay, which I haven't marked actually. I'll have to start doing this. The battle records. Here are your battle records with all of your potential missions. 24 times you can play this game without rubbing anything out, without having to erase your pencil. And I still think that's absolutely brilliant, because turn round to your wargaming shelf now and take out a game that you've played 25 times. Struggling? Of course. You can play this game 25 times, including the introductory scenario, before you even have to consider erasing your pencil marks. Now, some people might not even want to do that. That's absolutely fine. I've heard that some people are using an acetate, for instance. Cool. Okay. You'd have to sort of fix it in some way to the pages and stop it sort of slipping around. So, but acetate and a marker, that kind of thing, or even photocopying some of the search table pages. That's fine too. My personal opinion is that it won't be necessary. I'm using a trusty 2B pencil, which is reasonably soft, and it can rub out very, very easily. So there you go, your example of play. And then we can get into the game. And as you can see, as I mentioned, you've got your play area, and you've got your events charts. Is this simply a case of rolling and having things happen to you? Absolutely not. You're making decisions all the way through. Let's take a look. Okay, now for every single mission, 24 times in the book, you'll have these event charts, and the event charts will change from mission to mission. And by that, I mean they'll change position on the actual page physically, so that your die rolls are different. You're not going to get used to the die rolls. But the major change will be every single mission, the zones affected will change completely. So that every single mission is a challenge, and a growing challenge, against growing and more capable threats, from easy difficulty to very difficult difficulty, if you like. Now, this one you're looking at here is on the first page of the missions, and it's the training cruise. And all you have to do, you don't even have to earn any victory points. You just got to return home safely, but return home safely after turn 15. Ha ha! Okay, so first of all, you have to go on that patrol. The High Command expects you to go out and to sink some ships or attack a convoy and that kind of thing. And these are the decisions you're making every single turn. 20 turns in one mission, 20 turns. So 20 times you're going to be rolling on these tables. You're going to be having combat. You're going to be avoiding mines or hitting mines. You're going to be event torpedo attack, wing and a prayer, torpedo damages engines, Luftwaffe protection. Over here on the eastern seaboard, we have Luftwaffe protection. Over and under, direct hit on ships' guns, Ark Royal, Swordfish, bombers, seaworthy. Can we get into a zone which is going to help us repair our ship? We can try and rendezvous with a repair ship down here. Convoy hunt, lone warship, rough weather, fog and mist. And you know, there are events that happen throughout the game that you won't even find here. There are more events to be added yet. What you're not seeing on here is the home fleet. Hello? Do we want to run into the home fleet? I don't think we do. Force H from Gibraltar. They are in the game as well, but they're not on this mission, look. Do you see what I mean? So it's going to change and add the challenge from mission to mission. And you control how you move your ships. You control moving from grid to grid. Bismarck moves 2 movement squares, and Prince Eugen can move 3, or they can burn extra fuel, pile on more coal to get an extra move. So you have full command of how you're going to navigate your ships, and sometimes you're going to be avoiding areas, and sometimes you're going to want to get into certain areas to take that risk, to push your luck. Let's see why. Let's have a look at the search area. Here we go. This is where we'll actually play the game. So, as I said, this is the training cruise, and we will move our ships. We will navigate our ships, and here they are, Bismarck and Prince Eugen. And this is the training cruise I did. And look at all the movements I made here. Prince Eugen, the P, Bismarck, the B. They started off here, but went in different directions. Prince Eugen through the Iceland-Greenland gap, and Bismarck through the Faroes-Iceland gap down here. Bit of a mistake I made there, because it meant I had to loiter around the Bay of Biscay, and you don't want to be doing that, because I just about got home to Brest, and home can be Brest or Bergen, and I just about got home on turn 17. Here we go, because I couldn't return home, remember, until after turn 15, which meant I had to be loitering, and I was getting some hits. I was running into, at one point I ran into the King George V, never found the hood. Convoys, yes, Ramillies, yes, and there was quite a battle with HMS Repulse before HMS Repulse finally evaded our guns. And I'm glad that she did, because I too was getting pounded. Compare these movements here. So there's Bismarck, there's Prince Eugen, and here's my U-boat here. The U-boat can only move 1 movement square at a time. So each of these heavy grid squares here with the black line match these here. they have a grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and A to H, which mark out your zones. So if you're in a certain grid, then that's what you're looking for. Which of these events are going to affect you? Now, within each grid, there are also 4 movement squares. And if Prince Eugen and Bismarck are in the same grid, don't have to be in the same movement square, because look, there are 4 movement squares per grid. But if they're in the same grid, that means they're together. If they're not in the same grid, like they're not, they are separate. So the target will be just the Bismarck, for instance, if you've run across, I don't know, HMS Ramillies. Compare that to mission 1. So take a look at the paths I took there. Compare that to the mission 1, which is here. I did something completely differently, tried something completely differently. I did have a chance from mission 1 onwards of running into the home fleet. Let's have a look. Where's the home fleet? Here's home fleet. So if I'd have rolled a 3 and a 4, 5 or 6 together, and that's why you want a light dice and a dark dice, or a white dice and a black dice, like so. I've used yellow and blue. So your first dice and your second dice together are going to show you which event you're actually looking at. And then you look at the event, and we were going to look at home fleet, look, where we're going to have King George V, the Rodney, and the Prince of Wales, oh dear, show up in this area here, this orange zone. Now, luckily, I didn't run into those guys, but I did run into others. I ran into the Repulse and the Convoy, and I ran into Hood. Where did I run into Hood? Up here, I think. Lone Warship. I ran into Hood up here. And I took a heck of a pounding, but I really damaged the Hood. And this is where you're making decisions, because I did say you're going to want to navigate round and try to avoid a lot of these areas. So the first part of your move, you're actually planning, you're actually looking at events thinking, oh gosh, where do I need to move to avoid certain events if you possibly can. Or you might actually be trying to, for instance, I damaged Hood. Let's have a look at Hood. Where are we? If we can find Hood down here. At one point, I damaged Hood within an inch of her life. I marked off her strength points. These are strength points, like so. So she received 1, 2, 3, 4 hits and had 2 left. If I'd managed to get another 2 hits on her, I'd have scored those 3 victory points there. Okay? I'd have scored 3 victory points. And for this mission, I needed 3 victory points. Well, eventually I Bismarck it, because as soon as Bismarck is sunk, that's it. The game ends. And the game ended on turn 13 when Bismarck was finally sunk here. And she was sunk by, was it Rodney? I'm pretty sure it was HMS Rodney when Bismarck was finally sunk. But by then, Bismarck had been incredibly damaged. So, for instance, if you take a look at one of the ships, let's have a look at HMS Renown. She has 2 firepower. So you roll 2 dice when she's in combat. Boom, boom, you roll 2 dice. And a 1, 2, 3 is a hit. 4, 5, 6 is a miss. Couldn't be simpler. And it's fantastic fun to do it. Let's have a look. Whereas HMS KGV, King George V, has a huge amount of strength. This is the strength of the ship. And she rolls 3 dice. Oh, 3, 3 and 2. For instance, if that was a real roll, that would have been 3 hits. 3 hits, boom. For instance, on the Bismarck or the Prince Eugen. Now, should I sink King George V, I can get 4 victory points. Prince of Wales has 2 firepower. There's the strength. And again, 4 victory points. Rodney and Hood both have 3 firepower. and are both worth 3 and 3 victory points. And then we've got Renown, Repulse, Ramillies and the Convoys. Let's quickly look over at Bismarck. Look at the strength of Bismarck. A heck of a strong ship. She rolls 3 firepower dice. Prince Eugen rolls 2 firepower dice. And your U-boat rolls 1 firepower dice. And finally, Bismarck can move 2 movement areas, like so, with the small squares, whereas Prince Eugen can move 3. However, the game has more layers because we've got, see these barrels here, extra fuel, which will allow any of the ships to move an extra movement square because it just might be needed to get out of or into, but more likely out of, a particular zone. So that's what you're doing every single game turn. This is the sequence of play here. You're going to roll 2 dice, your light dice and your dark dice. Okay. What was that? Okay, that was a 1 and a 3. That must be the first one, mustn't it? Yeah. 1 or a 3. Force H from Gibraltar. There's your 1 and there's a 3. Force H from Gibraltar. And so if we're in any of those squares down here, you're going to meet up with Force H. And on this particular one, it's going to be HMS Renown. And there's going to be an air attack event. Roll 2 air attack dice for the Ark Royal. Apply hits on a 1 to 3. Good grief, you know. So this is really, really hard. And then we've got to try and get away. Maybe. Or we might continue to try and sink, for instance, HMS Renown, if we're getting some decent hits on it. Because when we're in a ship battle, it's not simply a case of fire, roll a dice, da-da-da-da-da. You must have a first round of combat. And the German ships will always fire first. So Bismarck will always take the first shot. Evidence her longer range and superior gunnery. So she takes the first shot, might score a couple of hits, for instance, on, let's say, I don't know, there we go, HMS Repulse. She scores a couple of hits. HMS Repulse now fires at, and they'll always choose Bismarck as a target first. Only if there's more ships will Prince Eugen also be targeted by further ships, but that detail is in the rules anyway. So Repulse has a go. Now, at the end of that first turn, what the AI will now do, yes, I said AI, good grief, what the AI will now do is British evade or remain decision. So, we were using Repulse, weren't we? So HMS Repulse, after that first round of combat, will count how many strength points it has left. These are the strength. Now if you look here, HMS Repulse has 1, 2, 3 strength points left. She'll compare those strength points to the total strength points of the German ships she is facing. So she can either be facing Bismarck, or if they're in the same grid square, she could be facing Prince Eugen as well. The chances are she's going to have far less strength points left than are the German ships. If that's the case, she will roll a dice. If it's a 1, 2 or 3, she will now evade, and she's gone. She's made smoke, or she's disappeared into the fog, she's gone over the horizon, and she's broken contact. Nothing the Germans can do about it. However, if we have damaged her enough, we might now want to look at the grid squares, and we might want to chase her. Where is she going to turn up again? Where is she most likely going to turn up again, so we can finish her off? So again, you're making a decision. Do you do that, or do you carry on with another aspect of your mission? For instance, if Renown and Repulse or any other combination of British ships were involved in the combat, you count their entire remaining strength and compare that to the German entire remaining strength of the ships that are in conflict with one another. And if their strength is equal or greater, then they will continue into a second round of combat. If their strength is less, that is remaining boxes, then they will evade. So now comes the German second round. Let's have a look over here. So let's say we're going to have a second round of combat. It might not only be a case of firing our, what's that, Bismarck will fire 3. It might not be a case of that. Look, we have more. We have tactics. We can also decide, before we fire, we can decide to close in, to pull out to long range, or to escape. Yeah, so as well as firing one another, we now have a layer where we can choose the tactics we're going to use. Push our luck, because if we close in, we roll 1 die, and on a 1 or 2, we get to add another die to our ship's firepower. Oh my gosh, so Bismarck is now firing 4 dice. But if we roll a 3 to 5, we receive a hit ourselves because we're closing in, but we still add the +1 to the ship's firepower. If we roll a 6, and this is what happened to me with Bismarck here, I was going to close in for the kill, okay, on HMS Rodney, but I rolled a 6 and I take 2 hits. Bang, bang. So I took 2 hits before I got to roll 4 dice, which would certainly have sank Rodney. I pushed my luck. I made a terrible mistake. And X marks the spot. That's where Bismarck sank on turn 13. But you can see closing in can be very, very powerful. Or pull out to long range. Yes. 1 to 3. You remove 1 die from your ship's firepower. But because you've moved away, you also ignore the first hit of each combat on yourself. Do you get me? Because you've made yourself a more difficult target. 4 to 6. Remove 1 dice from your ship's firepower for this battle round. And only for that ship's battle round. Now then, or you can escape. So any round after the first round, so again, like the British, you must conduct that first round of combat. Any round after the first round, you may choose to evade and end the battle. So you roll a die, 1 to 2, you escape and you avoid the battle. 3 to 4, you escape, yeah, but you take 1 hit on each ship. 5 or 6, you do not escape. You receive 1 hit for trying to disengage on one of the ships, choice is yours, and you remain in battle for another round. So each round, are the British going to evade or stay with us? Each round, are we going to choose a tactic or not? Just stick to our standard die? Or are we going to try and close in or pull out to long range, or are we going to try and evade? That is combat in this game. You'll be doing that several times throughout the book, like so. As I said, 8 separate missions. Each mission you can, even without having to erase your pencil marks, you can play it 3 times. 24 missions, and each one is different. You can come to the table, you can lay out your book like so. The book will take it, the spine will take it, no problem at all. You can get a couple of dice, you can get your pencil and an eraser, or not, or you can use acetate, absolutely fine, or you can photocopy, absolutely fine. But there's tons of game in this book as it is. And each mission, you'll get your mission objectives. Open season on convoys. Engage and attack all convoys and enemy ships without discretion. Time to show the Allies what she is made of. Now, to win, for instance, you may have to earn a certain amount of victory points, and it starts off about 3 victory points, and I think on some of the most difficult ones it goes up to 9 victory points. Do you know, I mean, I've played a couple of these. I don't see how that's possible, but we're going to get better at it. My decision making will get better. I really messed up on that last ship-to-ship engagement with Bismarck, and I know I did, and hopefully I won't be doing that again. So that's it. What a fantastic game. I've loved every minute of it. I never imagined in my wildest dreams that there'd be so much game in this box. It's not a box. I never in my wildest dreams believed that there was so much game in this book for so little layout, and I can literally sit with it anywhere and my little dice tray and have a heck of an adventure in the North Atlantic. Fantastic game. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you had a look. It's going to make a great Christmas gift. And I do believe they're selling like hotcakes at the moment. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.